Our first step into the original game opens not with chaos, but with restraint. The tutorial itself is brief by design, yet surprisingly confident. When you measure it against the overbearing handholding of modern titles, it holds up better than expected. We're greeted by the Adjutant, a cybernetic intelligence, partially disembodied and wholly informative. She addresses us not as a soldier, but as the Magistrate, the central figure of Terran Command in this opening campaign. A demonstration of our equipment has been made ready, and we're free to observe it, or bypass it entirely. The choice from the very beginning is ours. And so it begins. Our first viewing of what a battlefield looks like going into the game, and for now at least, it's quiet. From the word go, we're given an idea of what progress looks like. It's a small force, especially when you consider the utter monstrosities we make later, but for now, it's enough to learn, and enough to begin. The Adjutant explains what we're seeing, how it functions, and how control is exercised. This naturally leans into the creation of SCVs. With orders issued, the SCVs move to harvest minerals, a familiar sight that will follow us across almost every battlefield, save for a handful of specialized encounters woven into the campaign. Then, out of nowhere, a brief crack in the fourth wall.
Permission to speak freely, sir. I'm not sure you know what you're doing.
One of the Marines steps forward, breaking protocol to explain unit selection and command. It's a knowing nod to us, the player behind the screen, and if I'm being brutally honest, I absolutely love this. On-screen prompts reinforce the lesson as production continues. The SCVs are built, the orders are given, and our own little war machine starts to turn. We're then introduced to Vespene gas, which is the second pillar of resource management.
A refinery processes raw Vespene gas, converting it into a form which your SCVs can gather.
Rarer and more volatile, it will become essential for advanced units that we'll become acquainted with as this story progresses. Each species will harvest and refine resources differently, but the purpose remains unchanged throughout. Once every requirement is met, the Adjutant returns to let us know that the demonstration is complete.
This concludes the equipment demonstration. There will now be a fully catered reception at Marsara Base.
We return to the briefing room, or the ready room if you're so inclined. The Adjutant wastes no time in bringing us up to speed on what we're going into. The Protoss have arrived, and as a result, Chowsara has been glassed, wiped clean in a matter of moments, and in response to this, the Confederate forces have tightened security across every Terran colony in the sector. Tensions are rising, and the likelihood of our own world being caught in the fallout is no longer theoretical, and if that wasn't enough, a message was left for us while we were at dinner. Curt and dismissive, it's the type of passive-aggressive that says far more between the lines than it does outright.
You're to relocate your core colonists to the outlying wastelands. Now, I know there won't be any problems with these new arrangements.
But wait. There's more to come. The Adjutant has been busy and reached out to a local marshal, one James Rayner. He's agreed to rendezvous with our forces and accompany us as we push through the surrounding wasteland. The mission begins with our crew voicing their disdain for the Confederates.
Can't believe we're being sent to the wasteland. These Confederates think they can push anybody around.
Just moments later, however, we round a corner and find him. Rayner promptly introduces himself.
Howdy, boys. I'm Jim Rayner, marshal of these parts.
A lawman on the frontier, he sits on his vulture hovercycle like he's done this 1,000 times before. He just oozes calm, but almost immediately, the silence breaks.
Oh yeah!
We're rushed by creatures that we will come to know as Zerglings. Although they're fast and vicious, they're not a serious threat. But this encounter is enough to make one thing clear. This is no longer just an exercise in resource management. The training wheels are off, and now it's time to step up to the plate. Starcraft uses this first mission as a way to teach us a little about exploration. Rayner's bike becomes invaluable as it cuts through the fog of war faster than Marines or SCVs ever could. It demonstrates that one moment the map is empty, the next it's alive with danger, and all with little to no warning. We're given access to a barracks, unlocking the ability to train fresh Marines, of which we need to train 5 of them, something that even at this early stage is easily done. Once we've done what's expected of us, we head back to the briefing room. Raynor opens the channel first. For now, things are stable, and as long as we keep our heads down and avoid drawing Confederate attention, the situation remains manageable. The conversation brings a fragile calm, but it is a calm nonetheless. The adjutant interrupts with new information.
Distress beacon activated at 0658.
A distress beacon has been detected broadcasting from Tarsonis, but before she can relay the full details, Confederate command cuts in to tell us that the call has already been answered and to stay out of it.
You just sit tight. You'll be notified if there's anything we think you need to know.
Raynor cues up his response with the grace of experience. He's used to the way the Confederates operate and isn't convinced by the authority. We're given a choice, even if it barely feels like one, and we side with him. Not because the campaign moves us in a linear direction, although that's how it can seem at first glance, but because the game assumes our moral compass is already calibrated. Back on the ground, the operation begins at Backwater Station. We're provided with everything we need to get moving: SCVs, supply depots, and a command center. However, unlike our previous mission, a barracks is already in place, which is a godsend. This accelerates our ability to mobilize a force. Raynor takes a small squad and scouts ahead. It doesn't take long for trouble to reveal itself, and once again Zerglings break the silence. Fast, but manageable. As we push forward, the infestation becomes impossible to ignore. A purple superorganism known as Creep spreads across the terrain, revolting even Raynor.
What the hell is that? Looks like the ground there is alive.
Every step deeper confirms what the distress beacon suggested. Something here has gone terribly wrong, and as we fight through the resistance, we're led to the source of the signal. A small group of survivors, cut off and surrounded by the advancing swarm, but we pull up just in time to secure the area.
Thanks for the rescue. We've been holed up in these bunkers for days hiding from the Zerg.
And just like that, our operational capacity expands. Additional barracks come online, along with a new building to boot, the Academy. With this now in play, Firebats, purpose-built for close quarters devastation, enter the fight. The Zerg respond immediately. Waves of resistance crash against our advance, but we force our way through regardless, and then, at the heart of it all, we find the truth. And it's something that when you play through the game for the first time, you don't expect. An infested command center. Even our own troops are horrified by what they're seeing.
What the hell did they do to that command center?
There is zero debate. This isn't natural, and who knows what will happen if the Confederates take any longer. This absolutely needs to be handled right now. And we do so, in the appropriate manner, and the fallout of this decision is immediate. General Duke fires up the communication system soon after, furious and condemning the decision. We're reminded in no uncertain terms that this was not our call to make, and despite what we may believe, the line has already been crossed.
I suggest you throw down your weapons and come peaceably.
Are you out of your mind? If we hadn't burned that damn factory, this entire colony could have been overrun. Maybe if you hadn't taken your sweet time in getting here.
Now, I asked you nice the first time, boy. I didn't come here to talk with you. Now throw down them weapons.
The transmission arrives without invitation, and the General wastes no time. He acknowledges our message, confirms he's aware of what's happened, and makes the Confederacy's position unmistakably clear. They are not concerned with our opinions. The situation is being handled, and as far as command is concerned, that's the end of it. The adjutant immediately follows up with a harsher reality and brings a somewhat depressing update to us. 16 stations have now confirmed contact with the Zerg. In response to this, the Confederates have begun arresting all standing militia forces, a deliberate attempt to avoid escalation with the Zerg by refusing to engage at all. Requests for military assistance have gone unanswered, and there will be no help from official channels. There is, however, one remaining option. An extremist revolutionary group known as the Sons of Korhal. The adjutant informs us that someone from their leadership is requesting an open channel. Enter Arcturus Mengsk.
Good day, Magistrate. My name is Arcturus Mengsk, and I represent the Sons of Korhal.
He speaks calmly, confidently. He knows exactly how the Confederates have framed his movement to the public, and he doesn't deny it. Instead, he asks us to look past the label, to consider necessity over optics. Mengsk offers support in the form of dropships, evacuation for the remaining survivors. But there is a cost. If we accept, we will be associated with the Sons of Korhal, branded alongside them. The Confederacy will see us not as neutral actors, but as collaborators. It's a calculated appeal, one that places the burden squarely on us, the magistrate. Do we preserve our standing, or do we save lives? The decision barely has time to settle. Another alert cuts through the channel.
Priority alert. Evacuation zone under attack by Zerg forces.
The Zerg have detected the movements of evacuation. They are converging on the extraction zone, and fast. Early on, a new unit checks in, a Vulture pilot, and in doing so introduces a critical mechanic. SCVs aren't just builders. They can repair damaged structures and mechanical units, keeping the base standing under sustained assault. We're reminded that bunkers offer more than protection. They turn Marines and fire bats into entrenched defenders, anchoring our lines. The mission begins under a clock. With no reinforcements coming and Raynor nowhere to be seen, survival becomes the priority. We establish a base with defense in mind. As the countdown continues, the Zerg attack in waves. Zerglings first, then Hydralisks, heavier and deadlier, each assault probing for weaknesses. An engineering bay comes online, allowing us to reinforce our firepower and push back harder. Missile turrets follow, ground-to-air defences that quickly prove indispensable. The command centre itself gains a new capability, ComSat, a scanning add-on that can briefly pierce the fog of war, revealing enemy movements, structures and threats. Powerful, but limited. Every scan must be chosen carefully. The mission never explicitly tells us how to proceed, and that's a good thing. We can fortify our position, build layers of defense, let the timer bleed down while we endure the storm. Or, if we have the resources and the nerve, we can go on the offensive and wipe them out. Starcraft allows it. And then, at last, the Sons of Korhal arrive.
Sons of Korhal dropships approaching.
Strap yourselves in, boys.
Dropships descend just as promised and survivors are pulled from the surface. The evacuation is complete and the alliance is sealed, although whether it was the right choice remains to be seen. Near the beginning of this video, I touched on the fact that there are a handful of missions where resource gathering is stripped away entirely. The Jacobs installation is one of them. Before the scenery has a chance to change, the consequences of our new allegiance arrive. The adjutant informs us that we've been formally suspended as magistrate, and the reason is clear.
Your tenure as colonial magistrate is suspended, pending an official investigation of your affiliation with the Sons of Korhal.
Cozying up with the Sons of Korhal has crossed a line that the Confederacy won't ignore. But the channel doesn't stay cold for long. Rayner checks in with an update.
Hey man, Arcturus' boys sprung me from the prison ship. Apparently they're as frustrated with the Confederates as we are. I know their reputation, but they seem to be on the level. I think Arcturus wanted to speak with you.
He briefs us on the situation with Marsara. The Zerg infestation has spread beyond control. As such, the planet is effectively lost and the Confederacy agrees, quietly withdrawing and cutting its losses. On this point, Mengsk doesn't disagree, but where the Confederacy sees abandonment, Mengsk sees opportunity. With the Confederate forces pulling out in chaos, he proposes a raid on an orbital installation. A data grab, schematics or weapon designs, anything of value left behind in the local networks. Rayner's in, and so are we. For the first time, we leave the surface behind. The Jacobs installation is a stark contrast to everything that's come before. No open terrain, no sprawling bases, just still corridors and controlled spaces. Look at me being a poet and shit. Automated security systems activate as we advance, a distinct mechanic for this level design going forward. As we explore deeper, we encounter civilians, non-combatants caught in the middle of a collapsing command structure. How we deal with them is left entirely to us. The scattered Confederate Marines, however, are another matter. Pushing further leads us to a teleportation pad. A brief distortion later and we emerge in a new sector of the platform. Almost immediately, alarms trigger.
Unauthorized entry detected.
Security locks on. A response force mobilizes and hidden missile turrets reveal themselves, joining the fight without warning. Resistance intensifies against us, and even though Marines are reinforced by firebats, the effort comes too late. We're committed now, and we didn't come this far to turn back empty-handed. Rounding the final corner, we find it. Not another teleporter, but access to the soon-to-be abandoned computer systems. We breach the Confederate network and begin the data transfer, and Rayner confirms that the schematics are secured. Dropships are requested for extraction, and just like that, another line is crossed. Rayner wastes no time. The data disks we liberated are already being decoded, and answers are finally within reach. Mengsk enters the conversation with momentum on his side. The Confederacy has taken hit after hit. Their forces are stretched thin and scrambling to recover. This, he insists, is the moment to strike again, and he tells us he has someone who can help make that happen: Lieutenant Sarah Kerrigan. Kerrigan informs us that the people of Antigua Prime are ready to rise up against their oppressors. They've had enough. The problem is, the Confederacy kind of got the memo too. General Duke has already responded. Alpha Squadron has been deployed as a show of force, a clear message meant to crush any thought of rebellion before it can take root. Mengsk's plan is simple. We're to meet up with Kerrigan, win the hearts and minds of the Antiguan people, and quietly remove Alpha Squadron's officer from the equation. Beyond that, he gives us free rein. With a small force of Marines and Rayner roaring alongside us on his bike, we move out to rendezvous with Kerrigan. The meeting is brief, sharp, and unexpectedly light-hearted, with a moment of humour before things turn serious.
Captain Rayner, I finished scouting out the area and... you pig!
What? I haven't even said anything to you yet.
Yeah, but you were thinking it.
Oh, yeah. You're a telepath. Look, let's just get on with this, okay?
Right.
And that's when the mission shows its hand. Kerrigan is a ghost, and with her comes a glimpse of what elite Terran warfare really looks like. The first ability she demonstrates is Cloak. With it, she fades from view, slipping past enemy patrols unseen, moving through hostile territory like a rumour rather than a soldier. But power always comes with a catch. Missile turrets soon come into view.
Dang, I hate these things. They can sense me even when I'm cloaked.
The second ability, Lockdown, proves just how deadly and controlling Kerrigan can be in a fight. A precise EMP attack shuts down mechanical units entirely, freezing them in place and leaving them helpless. Crossing a narrow bridge, an enemy vulture charges in, only to be neutralized instantly. Moments later, a Wraith enters the fray. These Terran units do the heavy lifting when it comes to airborne encounters. Fast, versatile, capable of engaging both ground and air targets, and thanks to their Apollo reactors, able to cloak just like Kerrigan, a reminder that the enemy has tricks of their own. Eventually, we reach the Antiguan settlement. Bunkers and turrets stand guard, more intimidating than dangerous, but with careful movement and a willingness to take a few hits, Kerrigan slips past the defences entirely, making a straight line for the command centre. Kerrigan reaches her target, and even without the visual clues, the audio ones do a decent job of telling the story.
I've taken care of business on this end, Commander.
And that's when everything erupts.
That's right. We've tolerated these Confederate goons long enough.
Almost out of nowhere, bunkers once used to keep the population in line swing around and open fire on Alpha Squadron. The rebellion ignites in full view and the Confederacy's caught completely off guard. Just as the dust begins to settle, the adjutant comes online with new information.
Commander, I'm picking up a large Confederate strike force advancing on our position.
Well, they're not wasting any time.
With production online, we push forward into the Confederate base proper. We dismantle everything in our path, leaving no doubt about our intentions. This is a revolution in motion. The adjutant opens with troubling news. This revolt we've ignited has the Confederacy rattled. Transmissions are bouncing frantically between command and distant outposts, pointing to the fact that something's happening, and whatever it is, it's happening fast. With a bit of tinkering, the adjutant manages to isolate and decode one of those signals.
There's a General Duke calling from Alpha Squadron flagship Norad II. We've crash-landed and are being hit hard by the Zerg. Request immediate backup from anyone receiving this signal. Repeat, this is a Priority 1 distress call.
It's General Duke. Rayner can't help himself. It's about time that the Confederacy got a taste of its own medicine. Then Mengsk drops his order. He wants us to go in and rescue them.
I'm positive I didn't hear that right.
Rayner does a double take.
Arcturus, have you lost your mind?
Kerrigan isn't far behind. The suggestion lands like a bad joke, except Mengsk is completely serious. He argues that taking the moral high ground now could pay dividends later.
Besides, a Confederate general could prove to be a powerful ally. This is an opportunity we cannot miss.
The moment we hit the ground, the mission makes its intentions clear. Zerglings and Hydralisks come screaming out of the fog, hitting us hard and without warning. Pushing through the initial chaos, we stumble upon a ready-made base. Bunkers, supply depots, and an engineering bay already burning, its structure collapsing in real time. Then the camera pulls away. Across the map, the truth of the situation is revealed. The Norad II lies crippled, surrounded by bunkers, scattered Marines, and a handful of Goliaths doing everything they can to hold back the swarm. Zerg forces close in from all sides. Rayner doesn't sugarcoat it.
If we're doing this, we better hurry. That ship won't last long against those Zerg.
This is now or never. They won't last much longer. Back at our base, the pressure mounts. While we scramble to build up a response, the Zerg don't give us breathing room. They want the Norad II, but they haven't forgotten about us. Every decision matters. Where to spend resources, what to build, when to attack, when to hold. Norad II quietly presents us with a choice. Push forward by ground, and the Zerg respond in kind. Sunken colonies rise from the soil. Zerglings and Hydralisks throw themselves at every advance, take to the air instead, and the sky fights back. Spore colonies, Mutalisks, a heavy resource cost that results in a challenge with every move we make. Speed versus safety, cost versus control. Eventually, we break through. Reaching General Duke, we're not met with gratitude, but suspicion.
You're about the last folks I expected to show up. What's your angle here, Minsk?
He demands answers, clearly more offended than relieved, and Mengs provides them in his uniquely calm and measured tone.
Our angle? I'll give you an angle, you slimy Confederate piece of shit.
Jim, enough. I'll handle this. The Confederacy has fallen apart, Duke. Its colonies are in open revolt. The Zerg are rampaging unchecked. What would have happened here today if we hadn't shown up?
Your point?
I'm giving you a choice. You can return to the Confederacy and lose, or you can join us and help save our entire race from being overrun by the Zerg. I don't think it's a difficult decision.
Join forces with you? I'm a general, for God's sake.
A general without an army. I'm offering you a position in my cabinet, not just some backwater post. Don't test my patience, Edmund.
All right, Minsk. You got a deal.
You've made the right choice, General Duke.
I can't believe you're really gonna trust this snake.
Don't worry, Jim. He's our snake now.
2 hours ago, Confederate forces zeroed in on our location. Now, a sizable military presence sits comfortably within our perimeter, and somehow we didn't notice them arrive. That's a problem. There's something else we need to know.
Greetings. I know you're all concerned about the Confederate strike force, but first we have a grave matter to discuss. It seems our data disks didn't hold weapon designs after all. Lieutenant Kerrigan will explain.
You all know that the Confederates run a program for psychically gifted humans, training them to be ghosts. Those running the program found that the Zerg are attuned to the psychic emanations of ghosts.
So the Zerg are here for you, darling? Huh. This keeps getting better and better.
Shut up. There's been a lot of secret Confederate research surrounding ghosts and the Zerg. What we stole was a small but critical piece of the puzzle. Designs for a transplanar psionic waveform emitter. The emitters broadcast the neural imprint of a ghost, but at a much greater magnitude. These things reach across worlds.
What we stole wasn't just intelligence, it was a trigger.
The Confederacy used these psi emitters to lure the Zerg into isolated containment areas. Your colony, Mar-Sara Commander, was one such location.
What are you saying?
I'm saying the Zerg are a secret weapon developed by the Confederacy. I'm saying you were all subjects of a Confederate weapons test. Just as they destroyed Korhal with nuclear weapons to establish dominance a generation ago, they would use the Zerg to put an end to their other rivals. Only this time there'd be no outrage. Who could suspect the aliens were their creation? No, they'd be lauded as heroes for coming in and destroying the Zerg. It's time the Confederacy paid for its crimes. And I know just the way. Lieutenant Kerrigan is going to plant an emitter at the Confederate base camp. Commander, you will provide her with an escort. When the Zerg arrive, they'll break the blockade for us and we'll make our escape. Now, get moving.
Kerrigan is the first to push back. For all of her precision and deadly prowess, this crosses a line. Luring the Zerg onto anyone, Confederates or not, isn't right. It's not warfare, it's extermination.
I know you have personal feelings about this, but you can't let your past cloud your judgment.
Then, he reminds her of her place. He does something that's easy to miss. He subtly deploys his dominance. He addresses her by rank alone.
Carry out your orders, Lieutenant.
Lieutenant. A subtle reminder that she's not part of the debate. She's part of the plan. The mission begins, and almost immediately alarms sound.
Base is under attack.
Our base is already under attack. A quick scan reveals the source. A siege tank, dug in and shelling us from range. One of the most dangerous ground units in the Terran arsenal, and it's hitting us before we've even found our footing. This time though, we're given a lifeline. A science vessel, already constructed and waiting, and with it one of the most powerful support abilities we've seen so far, the defensive matrix. A temporary shield, enough to turn certain death into a desperate chance. On your first playthrough, it can seem daunting to fight your way through, given the introduction of siege tanks, but the more experienced player is far more calculated in their approach. Load the psi emitter onto an SCV, drop a defensive matrix on it, then run. What follows is controlled chaos. As the SCV charges into the fog of war, enemy rains fire down from every direction. Siege tank shells slam into the ground, infantry scramble. The base behind us is barely holding together, but there's no time to look back. Against all odds, the SCV reaches the beacon. The psi emitter is deployed and the universe answers. Once the dust settles, Kerrigan radios in.
Emitter in place. Just promise me we'll never do anything like this again.
Her voice is steady, but there's an edge beneath it. She wants reassurance that this is the last time they ever do something like this. Menks shuts it down.
We will do whatever it takes to save humanity. Our responsibility is too great to do any less.
And for the first time, it's clear. This revolution isn't just about overthrowing the Confederacy. It's about deciding how much of our humanity we're willing to burn to win. The images hit us before the mission even starts. Screens flicker with chaos. The psi emitter did the job. We see that the Zerg tore through the Confederate front lines like it was nothing. Cities crumble, defenses collapse, and all we can do is watch. But the peace that this was supposed to bring is fleeting. The Protoss arrive. High Templar Tassadar leads the fleet, and with one brutal strike, the planet is glassed. Fire rains from orbit, burning everything in sight. Communication fires up in response. It's a full house and Mengsk fires first. He wants more. He wants Tarsonis itself, but first we need to punch through the Confederacy's final defences. General Duke speaks in his usual self-confident style, calm but firm.
I've defended Tarsonis in over 30 major battles, so I know its defenses inside and out. There are 3 primary orbital platforms that serve as staging areas for the Confederate fleet. If we assault the central platform, we should cause enough of a ruckus to allow a small force to break through the planetary defenses.
General, I'm impressed. I never figured you for the frontal assault type.
Well, the Confederates have Omega and Delta Squadron troops defending the platform. But they're nothing compared to my Alpha Squadron boys.
Right.
We deploy to the orbital platforms. The scale of the mission hits us. The full arsenal of Norad II is at our disposal. Barracks, starports, science facilities, even nuclear silos. Alpha Squadron's pride, Duke notes dryly, means nothing is left half finished. Dropships ferry units to critical points. General Duke himself joins the fight, a wall of firepower at our side. For the first time, fate seems to favour us. The Confederates test our resolve. Sparse squads of Marines appear, but before they can regroup, Duke's battlecruiser makes its ferocity known to make the odds lean in our favour, with one clear message: we're not here for a fight, we're here to bring obliteration. Section by section, we advance, dismantling defences, capturing points, rebuilding, repositioning, rearming. Each strike is calculated yet brutal, with nothing being spared, and the Confederacy's hope dies piece by piece. Then, an unexpected report comes. General Duke's voice, flat and cold, brings the reveal.
This is Duke. The emitters are secured and online.
Who authorized the use of psi emitters?
He does it again. He addresses her by rank.
I did, Lieutenant.
Lieutenant. A reminder, not a threat, not a request, a command. She calls him out and refuses to let his authority go unchecked.
What? The Confederates on Antigua were bad enough, but now you're going to use the Zerg against an entire planet? This is insane.
Rayna steps in trying to mediate, to argue sense against the unyielding will of Mengsk, but it makes no difference.
She's right, man. Think this through.
The decision is final, and the orders are absolute.
I have thought it through. Believe me. You all have your orders. Carry them out.
All three of them, Duke, Kerrigan, Rayna, are to execute his will. Well, the plan worked. The combined signal of the psi emitters did exactly what Mengsk promised. Billions of Zerg answered the call, swarming Tarsonis in a living tide, and the ramification of this? Confederate defenses, once thought unbreakable, collapsed under the sheer weight of numbers. Major cities fell, industrial centers burned, and the heart of the Confederacy is drowning. But the Zerg are not alone. Our resident adjutant cuts through the noise with an update.
I've picked up several dozen Protoss warships descending upon Tarsonis.
And the intent of their arrival is unmistakable.
They seem to be heading on a direct course to the primary Zerg hive.
They are here to cleanse the planet, to annihilate the primary hive in a single purifying strike. And that's when Mengsk interrupts.
If they engage the Zerg, the Confederates may escape. Commander, send Lieutenant Kerrigan with a strike force to engage the Protoss. Captain Rayner and General Duke will stay behind with the command ship.
Rayner fires back. There's no attempt at diplomacy, no softened edges.
First you sell out every person on this world to the Zerg. Then you ask us to go up against the Protoss. And you're gonna send Kerrigan down there with no backup?
I have absolute confidence in Kerrigan's ability to hold off the Protoss.
This is bullshit.
Rayner doesn't bother to continue arguing with him. Instead, he turns to Kerrigan.
Kerrigan, are you reading this?
She's heard everything. And despite it all, her loyalty to Arcturus remains unshaken, illogical and absolute. She confirms she's going down to the surface. Rayner tries one last time.
Funny. I never thought of you as anyone's martyr.
His tone edged with frustration, almost desperation. It feels like he's trying to provoke a fight with her, hoping she'll push back hard enough to give him an excuse to stop this. But she doesn't bite. As the mission begins, Rayner makes a final plea.
Why are you doing this, Kerrigan? Look, I know about your past. I've heard the rumors. I know you were part of those experiments with the Zerg, that Mengsk came and saved you. But you don't owe him this. Hell, I saved your butt plenty of times.
Kerrigan isn't entirely alone. We're deployed with a modest force, a barracks, a handful of Marines, a few vultures. It's enough to survive momentarily, but it's not nearly enough to feel comfortable. SCVs immediately begin mining, pulling resources to bankroll what's shaping up to be an impossible engagement. We build fast and deliberately, an academy to extend firing range, an engineering bay to push weapon output, a factory to bring in the heavy armor, siege tanks, Goliaths, anything that might tip the scales. And then it starts. The Zerg test us from the rear. There's no warning, no build-up, just movement. If the Zerg are pressing from behind, then the Protoss can only be ahead. Using the command center scanner, we get our first real look at them. Tall, armored warriors labeled Zealots. Spider-like mechanical constructs identified as Dragoons. Mid-fight, the difference becomes painfully clear. Turns out, Protoss units are shielded. Not enough to make them invincible, but enough to keep them standing far longer than expected. Shots that would kill merely stagger, and damage that should cripple instead delays. every engagement stretches longer and every mistake costs us more. Once our forces are ready, we push outward, doing what we can to claim ground inch by inch. This is where the battle truly ignites. Unsure of what lies ahead, we lead with siege tanks and Goliaths, raw firepower, controlled destruction. The SCVs trail behind the armor, repairing damage as it's taken, preserving resources, keeping our momentum alive. Then, almost like they knew we'd forgotten about them, the Zerg return.
Let's wax these critters.
Stay cool, Commander. Remember the plan. The Zerg are to remain unharmed.
We turn our attention back to the Protoss. Their buildings rise like monuments. Golden and elegant, they look almost sacred, but watching them burn feels different. Less like conquest and more like desecration. When the final Protoss structure falls, the battlefield goes quiet. Then, the Zerg stop holding back, coming at us with everything they have. And then, we hear her.
This is Kerrigan. We've neutralized the Protoss, but there's a wave of Zerg advancing on this position. We need immediate evac.
Belay that order. We're moving out.
What? You're not just gonna leave us?
All ships prepare to move away from Tarsonis on my mark.
Boys, how about that evac?
Damn you, Arcturus. Don't do this.
It's done. Helmsman, signal the fleet and take us out of orbit. Now!
Commander. Jim? What the hell's going on up there?
She understands exactly what's happening. The Zerg are closing in. There's no extraction, no reinforcements, no escape. For the first time, fear breaks through her resolve. She knows she's about to be overrun, and she knows there's nothing she can do to stop it. One final briefing. No ceremony, no speeches, just cold information delivered without sympathy or pause. The adjutant speaks first with that mechanical stature that makes every word feel like it's already been archived, filed away as history. Rayner joins the channel next. He's not shouting. That would be easier to ignore.
I can't believe he actually left her down there. I'm gone, and you better come with me. There's no telling who Arcturus will screw over next.
He's controlled, tightly wound, anger sitting just beneath the surface. Everything that's happened is written across his face. Then, Mengsk appears. And just as the narrative has trained us to expect, he speaks as though nothing has gone wrong, as though no one was betrayed, as though Kerrigan never screamed into a dead channel.
Gentlemen, you've done very well. But remember that we've still got a job to do. The seeds of a new empire have been sown, and if we hope to
To hell with you!
Rayner cuts him off. There's no hesitation.
You're making a terrible mistake. Don't even think to cross me. I have sacrificed too much to let this fall apart.
You mean like you sacrificed Kerrigan?
You'll regret that.
Before the argument can spiral, the adjutant interrupts. New data, priority alert. General Duke has seized control of the ion cannon, the primary planetary defense system for Tarsonis. The real issue here is that it's not there to protect anyone. It's there to make sure no one leaves. If we're going to survive, if we're going to break free from Mengsk's vision, that cannon has to fall first. The mission begins with a small force, Rayna's people, loyalists, standing in formation outside the command center, waiting. Rayna doesn't give a speech. He notes the irony out loud.
Looks like we're on our own. It's funny. Seems like yesterday Arcturus was the idealistic rebel crusader. Now he's the law and we're the criminals. Kills me to know that we helped him achieve his goals of conquest. Damn it. I shouldn't have let her go alone.
This is the point of no return. Every lesson we've learned leads here. Every unit trained, every upgrade researched, every battle fought. This is what it was all building toward. If Mengsk wants to stop us, after everything we've survived, after everything we've lost, then in the name of the Fallen, we're going to make him work for it. We build, we mine, we push outward, methodically dismantling Duke's defenses. Every skirmish feels heavier now. There's no confusion, no uncertainty, just purpose. This isn't survival, it's judgment. When we finally reach the ion cannon, everything we have is thrown into the assault. Armor cracks, systems fail. The weapon that once held a planet hostage burns and collapses into scrap. The chapter closes not with a celebration, at least not in the sense that we'd expect, but with propaganda. A news broadcast fills the screen. Mengsk's voice, with its distinctly calm and confident tone, rallies the people to his cause, painting himself as humanity's last hope, and erasing Rayna from the story entirely.
While we battle one another, divided by the petty strife of our common history, the tide of a greater conflict is turning against us, threatening to destroy all that we have accomplished. It is time for us as nations and as individuals to set aside our long-standing feuds and unite. The tides of an unwinnable war are upon us, and we must seek refuge upon higher ground lest we be swept away by the flood. The Confederacy is no more. Whatever semblance of unity and protection it once provided is a phantom, a memory. With our enemies left unchecked, who will you turn to for protection? The devastation wrought by the alien invaders is self-evident. We have seen our homes and communities destroyed by the calculated blows of the Protoss. We have seen firsthand our friends and loved ones consumed by the nightmare Zerg. Unprecedented and unimaginable though they may be, these are the signs of our time. The time has come, my fellow Terrans, to rally to a new banner. In unity lies strength. Already many of the dissident factions have joined us. Out of the many, we shall forge an indivisible whole, capitulating only to a single throne. And from that throne, I
shall watch over you. From this day forward, let no human make war upon any other human. Let no Terran agency conspire against this new beginning, and let no man consort with alien powers. And to all the enemies of humanity, seek not to bar our way, for we shall win through, no matter the cost.
The Zerg campaign begins precisely where the Terran one ends. Through a series of still images, we're shown the aftermath of the Swarm's advance. 9 of humanity's 13 worlds have already fallen. and with Tarsonis now being overrun, the Protoss fleet makes its decision to withdraw from the system. Their departure leaves only scattered remnants in their wake, but rest assured, separated does in no way translate to useless. For the Swarm, however, things are just getting started. Straight off the bat, it becomes very clear that this campaign is going to operate differently from what we've experienced before, and the first sign is the ready room itself. Gone are the cold steel walls and electronic outlets of the Terran Command Center. In their place, we find ourselves in a infested command center? That might seem like a bit of a wrong thing for me to say, but stick with me a second. I literally only ever noticed this as I was polishing off this script, and I'm not going to lie, I actually giggled over it. Anyway, it's here that we're introduced to our new master. Yes, you heard right, master, because we are anything but in control this time round. The Overmind is not like the adjutant. It's not going to present options or seek counsel. It's going to tell us what needs to happen, and the expectation is that we just get it done. We are given a brief but deliberate introduction to the Swarm, its unity, its hunger, and its design. The Overmind then reveals its current focus. A new agent is being prepared, one vital to the Swarm's future, and until it's ready, our role is clear. Ensure nothing interferes with its development.
You must watch over the chrysalis and ensure that no harm comes to the creature within it. Go now and keep safe my prize.
Which is odd, at least if this is your first time playing through. We've witnessed the ferocity of these things firsthand. The memory of New Gettysburg still fresh in our minds, so being put on babysitting duty kind of feels a little out of left field. But there is method to the madness of the Overmind, and as this campaign progresses, the story will unravel in a way you don't expect. When I said at the beginning that this time round things are going to operate differently, this was what I was talking about. The campaign opens under the guidance of one of the Overmind's cerebrates, a big egg bogey looking thing called Dagoth, who introduces us to the tools already at our disposal.
The hatchery is the heart of any Zerg colony. It spontaneously generates larvae, which in turn are used to spawn your various warriors and minions. Now, create a drone and start gathering resources.
Zerglings wait across the hive, drones wait to be directed, and an overlord drifts patiently above a freshly formed creep colony. This environment feels correctly alien, but it's not completely unfamiliar. To the far left of our starting position sits something that bears a warped resemblance to the pads encountered during the Jacobs installation. The chrysalis that the Overmind mentioned to us moments ago now sits smaller than what its importance would suggest, but like it or not, protecting this thing is our priority above everything else. Our first task is simple: create a drone and begin gathering resources. As we expand, the game introduces the Overlords, fulfilling the same role as Terran supply depots while quietly noting that their utility extends far beyond simple logistics.
Overlords provide control for your minions. As your forces grow in number, you must hatch more Overlords to control them. You have enough minerals. Select a larva and mutate it into an Overlord.
We are then instructed to construct a spawning pool, cementing the core rule of Zerg expansion.
To create new warrior strains, you must generate the various hive structures. The drones themselves mutate into these structures. Yet be careful. Never use your last drone to make a building. Now, order your drone to become a spawning pool. You'll notice that structures can only implant themselves upon the creep.
Structures can only be grown on creep, and creep colonies serve to spread that living foundation outward, allowing the hive to expand beyond what the enemy forces expect. Progress, however, is short-lived. Another cerebrate, Zaz, interrupts with urgent intelligence.
Greetings, I am Zaz.
I too am a cerebrate of the Overmind. I have located a small band of Terrans who could threaten the Chrysalis and the Hive Cluster. You must not allow them to leave here alive.
Terran forces have been detected nearby, stranded and out of position, but dangerously close to the Chrysalis. Something that, if left unchecked, could become the #1 reason we fail the Overmind on our first outing. Goes without saying, we need to eliminate the Terrans. A cautious glimpse through the fog of war makes the threat feel a bit more real. Marines and Firebats are already deployed, supported by Goliaths. We've already been there, and experience tells us that this could become costly if we charge headfirst without thinking. If you don't take the time to go looking around before making a move, you will miss the presence of Wraiths. Not an amazing addition to the enemy at this early stage, but we need to remember that Zerglings can't fight the air, so rushing in needs to be calculated. As with previous missions, the solution is left entirely to us. We can overwhelm the enemy with Zergling swarms, which will handle the Marines, but Firebats are in play. Dangerous for sure, but a Hydralisk can outrange them. Upgrades are available to accelerate our assault, but balance is key. Overcommitting to offense leaves the Chrysalis vulnerable. Focusing too heavily on defense risks allowing the Terrans to entrench. However we go about this, we need to do it with intent. Once the Terran presence is wiped out and the Chrysalis secured, we return once more to the ready room. The Talking Eyeball is pleased with our performance, which is a good thing, because we just proved our worth. In return, the Overmind confirms that it will continue to provide for us so long as the Chrysalis remains safe. Whatever is in that thing is important. Enough for us to be let in on something rather revealing.
If ever your flesh should fail, that flesh shall be made anew. That is my covenant with all cerebrates.
Basically, death is a minor inconvenience for us. If we get dropped, we get brought back to return the favor. Having proven ourselves capable, we are deemed strong enough to endure the stresses of warp travel. With that, preparations are made to leave Tarsonis behind and journey directly to a planet called Char, the Chrysalis traveling with us. Before we depart, however, Zaz gives us a heads up.
Remnants of the Protoss fleet still linger within this planet's orbit. They will attempt to block our exodus at every turn.
Not all Protoss forces have withdrawn. Some are still hanging about and they will do what they can to stop us. Now would be a good time to make a quick reality check on this situation. When we were fighting as the Terrans, we realized that due to their shielding capabilities, Protoss units do not go down quickly. Back then, we were in control of units that all had an armor of sorts. This time, we're flesh and bone, still armored to a certain extent, but taking losses is absolutely something we need to take into account for moving through this campaign. Dagoth soon enters the exchange, offering the support of his brood should we require it.
My brood shall aid you, Cerebrate, should you require assistance.
And as we hit the ground, the assistance is immediately visible. Our brood colour is marked distinctly from his, a subtle but effective reminder that while we serve the same Overmind, individual identifiers still exist within the swarm, to some extent anyway. The rugged terrain of Tarsonis gives way to the stark geometry of an orbital platform. The setting has changed, but our objective of keeping the Chrysalis safe is still paramount, and we need to bring it to the beacon. This time, however, we are not without new tools. We get a good look at the Mutalisk, the Zerg's airborne predator capable of devastating enemy positions when used effectively. Its arrival marks a significant shift in how the swarm can project power. 2 hatcheries are available from the outset, a quiet acknowledgement that this mission is going to demand scale. Victory here will not be achieved by ambling our way through, rather through the deployment of overwhelming force. Once our forces are assembled, we do our thing, only to encounter a Protoss encampment lying directly in our path. Whether by foresight or coincidence, they are ready. Zealots and Dragoons form the backbone of their defense, supported by scouts, a nice little nudge wink wink that we shouldn't get cocky. Mutalisks are going to run into issues. Disruptor cannons add another layer of resistance, though their reliance on nearby pylons limits their placement. We can take out the cannons themselves or go straight for the power source, making everything in their range redundant. Pushing through their fortified positions, we slowly carve a route forward. At last, a drone escorts the Chrysalis to the beacon. Before the mission concludes, Zaz delivers one final warning.
Prepare yourself, Cerebrate. Your first jump through warp space could be unsettling.
Warp space is not forgiving, and what awaits us beyond this point will test the swarm in ways yet unseen. Whatever resides within that chrysalis clearly excites the Overmind.
Behold the power of that which is yet unborn. For the swirling images that flow forth from the chrysalis are only a shadow of the sleeper's true power.
Zaz soon joins in, revealing that the psionic presence of this developing agent is resonating across space. Its signal is strong enough to draw attention, and as a result, it has brought the enemy directly to our doorstep. With their forces so close, we're able to intercept their plans before they can fully unfold. That opportunity arrives in the form of a familiar face. General Duke enters the channel.
All squadrons close formation. Scan for hostiles. Emperor Arcturus believes that there's Zerg out here, so it's our job to flush them out. I don't want any slip-ups this time. We'll show these critters that they can't run from the Terran Campaign.
His transmission confirms what Mengsk had suspected. The Dominion believes the Zerg are active on Char, and Mengsk intends to ensure that they are wiped out before whatever is growing within the chrysalis can reach maturity. Duke refers to us as critters, a dismissive choice of words that reinforces his belief that the swarm is little more than an infestation. It is a mistake that we will make him regret. Dagoth advises us that engaging the Terrans is the correct course of action, but reminds us that our primary duty remains unchanged. The chrysalis must be protected at all costs. As we take our first step on Char's surface, the environment doesn't wait to assert itself. Gone are the orbital platforms and scarred wastelands we've grown accustomed to. In their place lies a volcanic nightmare. The Overmind's prize has grown larger since we last saw it, and the immediate availability of Hydralisks and Mutalisks serves as a subtle warning for us. Whatever is about to happen, we're about to clash with the best that the Terrans have to offer. With the terrain unknown and Dominion forces already deployed, Mutalisks prove invaluable. Their speed allows us to scout efficiently. Early reconnaissance reveals additional mineral fields and Vespene gas reserves, perfect for expanding the swarm's presence and locking down resources away from enemy use. Terran vultures soon make themselves known, introducing the constant threat of spider mines for any ground-based advance. The appearance of siege tanks further complicates matters, demanding swift and decisive responses to avoid heavy losses. Commanding Zerg forces comes with a key advantage, however. Every unit is alive. Given time, they regenerate, healing their own wounds without assistance. This passive resilience allows us to strike, withdraw, and strike again, free from the logistical concerns faced by Terran forces reliant on SCVs. An added bonus is the ability to burrow, because even though a unit isn't essentially active on the battlefield, its view of surrounding areas stays, helping to serve a similar benefit to spider mines or at the very least cloaked units. Once Dominion positions are fully located, we descend upon them, and total carnage is the only outcome, ending only when Duke finally issues the order to retreat.
All right, you sorry bastards, fall back! Fall back!
Dagoth urges restraint, advising that the Terrans be allowed to flee.
Hold, Cerebrates, do not pursue them.
Zaz agrees that their presence likely confirms suspicions surrounding the chrysalis, but reiterates that its protection remains our highest priority.
Cerebrate, you must stay and relocate the chrysalis to a more secure location. Dagoth shall deal with the remaining Terran forces.
We don't even have time to breathe. Zaz tells us that while Dagoth is standing on business against the Terran remnants, the thing that we're babysitting is still firing out psychic signals, and because of this, more problems are coming our way. The Overmind chimes in and tells us that while it acknowledges our leadership and cunning, we've got to hold on a little longer. By the sounds of it, whatever it is we're looking after is almost ready. Back on the scorched surface of Char, we can see that a 10-minute timer is active. It's not there for decoration, it acts like a warning. Our hive starts with the usual suspects, but this time, Zerg Queens are available, a spellcaster type unit that provides invaluable support if used properly. But, out of nowhere, the camera shifts across the map to a Terran encampment. Not just any force though. It's Rayna.
Alright. All crews stay frosty and keep your eyes peeled for our target. Remember, not only are we up against the Zerg here, but our old pal General Duke may be creeping around too. Let's hope this trip wasn't a big mistake.
Whilst it's good to see our old buddy alive and well, he's not a priority for us. At least, not yet. Back to our hive cluster, and shortly after, both Marines and Firebats attack trying to make a name for themselves. But with our own units already settled in, they don't get very far. Goliaths try their luck, not a massive problem, but inconvenient if nothing else. Dropships test the waters by flying past us, and whilst this can seem annoying, it actually works in our favour. Queens come with the ability to infest enemy units with a parasite that allows us to see what they can. As the dropships fly around the map, we get a free insight into what's going on around us without the risk of losing any of our own units in the process. As always, Starcraft doesn't explicitly tell us what to do. We can go on the offensive or we can run the timer down. Either way, sporadic fighting takes place and management of our own defenses is crucial. As the timer runs closer to zero, the Terran forces push harder in an attempt to break us. 30 seconds remaining, and Zaz bolsters us by letting us know that the chrysalis is opening and to hold on just a little longer.
Cerebrate, the chrysalis is opening. Do not allow any Terrans near it.
And as we hit that final moment, we make a point of viewing it ourselves to see what all the fuss is about. Then, it happens.
Arise, my daughter. Arise, Kerrigan.
It's Kerrigan, but not as we knew her.
By your will, Father, I live to serve. Let all who oppose the Overmind feel the wrath of the swarm.
Her eyes hold a foreboding glow, her hair like parasitic vines, and most notably, dual bone-like appendages breaching from her shoulders, almost like she's been reborn as the Angel of Death. The Overmind then congratulates us on keeping its prize safe, but tells us that we can take the safety off now. Everything dies.
Well done, Cerebrate. What I have wrought this day shall be the undoing of my enemies. Let not a Terran survive.
The comms quickly port over to Rayna, who is horrified by what he's seeing, and quite rightly so.
Mother of God. Kerrigan, what have they done to you?
Now the pace steps up. We're given additional objectives. Bring Rayna's command center to its knees, either by destroying it or infesting it. Kerrigan must also survive, but from the quick interaction we've just seen, something tells us that that isn't going to be an issue. We increase our offensive punch by making mutilisks to help us both navigate faster and handle any airborne enemies. Reaching out across the map, we increase our numbers, and once we're confident, we send hell at Rayna, and at the moment everything falls, he radios across.
Sarah, is that really you?
To an extent. I'm far more than I once was, Jim. You shouldn't have come here.
But the dreams. I dreamed you were still alive, that somehow you were calling to me.
I was. While I was in the chrysalis, I instinctively reached out to you and Arcturus telepathically. Apparently, Arcturus sent Duke here to reclaim me. But that was then, Jim. I'm one of the Zerg now, and I like what I am. You can't imagine how this feels.
So, what? Are you gonna kill me now, darling?
That is certainly within my power. But you're not a threat to me, Jim. Be smart. Leave here now, and never seek to confront the Zerg again.
Doesn't look like I had much choice.
Out of respect for what they once meant to each other, Kerrigan allows Rayna to leave with his life intact. The still frames that we see summarize what's just happened, but that isn't even the start of what's to come. Kerrigan being a ghost in her past life meant that she had to undergo conditioning to help keep her powers in check, something that appears to have carried through to her new form. She is not impressed with this, and is now looking for a way to undo everything that the Terran scientists did to her. Once she's able to tap into her full potential, she's ignoring the trivial and going straight for the throat of the universe. She's gunning for the Protoss. The ready room begins with Kerrigan, who opens by expressing thanks to us.
Cerebrate, you watched over me during my incubation, and I am grateful to you. It is my wish that you continue your vigil, so that I might strengthen my powers to better aid the swarm. I have been unable to access the totality of my latent powers, and as such, I would like to infiltrate a Terran science vessel and uncover the secrets of their abandoned ghost projects.
She asks us to keep watching out for her so she can get a proper handle on what she's capable of. Zaz, clearly annoyed at her request, attempts to remind Kerrigan of her place.
Though you be the favored servant of the Overmind, you would do well to remember that you are just a servant. You know of our grand mission, Kerrigan. Would you put your personal whims before the will of the Overmind?
Kerrigan doubles down and indirectly threatens Zaz, telling him in no uncertain terms that she doesn't much care for his opinions.
Do not cross me, Zaz. I will do as I see fit, and not you or any other Cerebrate shall stand in my way.
The Overmind then advises us that Kerrigan's tenacity is left to her by design. No Zerg, it states, can truly pull away from its will.
Let her go, Zaz. The greatness of her spirit has been left to her, that the swarms might benefit from her fierce example. Fear not her designs, for she is bound to me as intimately as any Cerebrate. Truly no Zerg can stray from my will, for all that you are lies wholly within me. Kerrigan is free to do as she desires.
If Zaz had a tail, it would be firmly between the legs, as he yields promptly and addresses us to ensure that Kerrigan remains unharmed during this mission.
By your will, Overmind. Cerebrate, you must see that she comes to no harm.
We land inside the science vessel, and Dagoth immediately advises us that his hunter-killer Hydralisks are ours to command. A nice little bolster to the usual ones we field, and a subtle nod to the fights we're about to have. We collect some stray Zerglings to once again bolster our numbers, but it's a good thing that we don't get attached to them. They won't be around for long. Resistance comes in the form of infantry, ghosts, and security systems, but in the wake of Kerrigan's desire to unlock the secrets of her mind, it's near enough pointless. As we push further, Vultures and Goliaths do their best to take us out, to no avail. An additional benefit of having Kerrigan again is that her cloak ability is still readily available, allowing her to sneak past and circle round attackers for pincer-style maneuvers. The occasional fire bat is thrown into the mix, not that it makes a difference. Suddenly, we're trapped in a small arena as an ambush tactic, with one Marine noting out loud,
"You'll never make it out of here alive, bitch."
They've even doubled up with rocket launchers in an attempt to make them feel safe. That's a shame. Finally, we get to the network.
Cerebrate, I have located the records I sought. We have everything we need here.
We're then treated to a cinematic that, when released with the original game, may or may not have kept me awake that night. I was 12 at the time, I make no apologies. This time, the ready room feels different. Kerrigan comes to us with a tone that hints at a sense of both concern and amazement.
Do you feel that, Cerebrate? The Protoss are here, on Char. They have been for some time, hiding.
Then, out of nowhere, Tassadar of the Protoss fleet makes himself known, and Kerrigan addresses him with self-righteous confidence.
Protoss Commander, it was folly of you to come here, for I am Kerrigan, and I am Queen of the Zerg.
He's not overly bothered about the title, but he is aware of who she is, instead stating that it's a shame somebody of her reputation has been corrupted by the Overmind.
I know of you well, O Queen of the Zerg, for we have met before.
I am Tassadar of the Templar. I remember your selfless exploits, defending humanity from the Zerg.
There's a bit of chest puffing between the both of them, with Kerrigan suggesting that he's become weaker, but he provokes her to a stalemate in response.
Mayhap, O Queen. Or is it only that I need not flaunt my power in such an infantile test of will?
Foolish Templar, prepare your defenses. I will come for you soon.
As we land, Zaz speaks in a way that could almost be seen as unbecoming of a Cerebrate.
Kerrigan, I sense something strange about this Templar.
He's nervous. He can feel something is off here, and he tries to warn the Queen to maybe rethink this.
Perhaps you should reconsider your attack.
But she's having none of it.
For the last time, Zaz, you question my motives and authority at your own peril.
Cerebrate or not, he's just a tool in the grand scheme of things, and she threatens him once more.
You dare threaten a Cerebrate? You'll be the doom of us all.
Guardians are readily available here, letting us know that we're going to need the extra firepower this time round. This mission is all about numbers. The more we have, the more we send. Expansion is crucial here too, and once we've got our favourites lined up, we do our thing. Once we decimate everything they have, Kerrigan asks the question.
Where are you, Tassadar? Do your underlings always do your fighting for you?
This shall be our battleground, O Queen. Face me here, and I will defeat you myself.
And with that, we get our new Queen to the Central Plateau, where we go at the Templar, but something's off. He doesn't seem to take us seriously, but there is a reason for it.
An illusion? Are you afraid to face me, Templar?
So long as you continue to be so predictable, O Queen, I need not face you at all. You are your own worst enemy.
Just as we expect, Kerrigan is pissed. She enters the ready room riled up and basically foaming at the mouth with anger. But she's cut off unexpectedly by Dagoth.
Insufferable Protoss coward. Tassadar cannot evade my wrath forever. I shall find him and cut it.
Kerrigan, Zaz is dead.
Oh, it is a pity that Cerebrates cannot truly be killed. I expect that the Overmind will reincarnate him soon.
No, he will not. The Protoss have devised some new attack. An attack powerful enough to nullify our reincarnation and give pause to the Overmind itself.
So, Tassadar's plan was merely a diversion. I should not have underestimated him so.
Tassadar's provocation was smoke and mirrors, a diversion for something else entirely. With Zaz out of the picture, the brood that he was responsible for has no leadership.
Without its master, Zaz's brood has run amok, and even now threatens the hive cluster.
Dagoth is happy to handle the Protoss, but urges us to take care of the rampaging brood, so that things can be brought back to some level of control. This engagement hits a little different, but for good reasons. Entering a Zerg-on-Zerg conflict is actually beneficial. It gives us some added insight into how to better our own defenses. But aside from that, there's nothing of real worth to be gleaned here. We handle the Wayward Swarm and head back home. Rejoice! The talking eyeball's back, and it's concerned.
Behold, my long silence is now broken, and I am made whole once more. The cunning Protoss have dared strike down that which was immortal.
The Overmind notes that the Protoss who killed Zaz are different to anything that we've had to fight before. We're aware, to some extent at least, of the existence of High Templar, Tassadar being one among their ranks, but this new threat is referred to as a Dark Templar. It would seem that they use energies that are different to the standard Protoss ones we've come up against.
These Dark Templar radiate energies that are much like my own, and it is by these energies that they have caused me harm.
Which explains how they were able to kill a Cerebrate and cancel out the reincarnation process. But it's not entirely hopeless. We're told that when the Dark Templar assassin known as Zeratul killed Zaz, his mind touched with the Overminds, and as a byproduct of this temporary melding, it was able to see where the Protoss homeworld of Aiur was. We wanted to handle the Protoss, and this information allows us to take the fight to their front door. Dagoth advises us that we need to rein in the Dark Templar so they can't cause any more issues.
For now, we must ensure that the Dark Templar can cause no more harm. Cerebrate, you shall set a trap for our foes. Kerrigan will lead them to you.
On the battlefield once more, we're introduced to the Nidus Canal. This is the Zerg version of a teleportation pad, and as such needs both an entrance and an exit. This map is a noticeably large one, so being able to fight battles on multiple fronts is essential. Concentrate on one force for too long and you risk getting blindsided somewhere else. We finally pull up on the Protoss, who will do everything they can to stop us. Ultralisks are handy with their tanky resilience, and Hydralisks are great follow-up units, helping to pick off any stragglers. Bringing the Protoss base to its knees brings Kerrigan to the forefront.
I grow tired of slaughtering your servants. Have the mighty Templar lost their infallible courage?
Well spoken, concubine of the Zerg. But though we strike at you from the shadows, do not think we lack the courage to stand in the light. You would do well to abandon this attack.
You seem overconfident of your abilities, Dark One. I am no helpless cerebrate to be assailed under cover of darkness. I am the Queen of Blades, and my stare alone would reduce you to ashes. You and your ilk cease to amuse me. Prepare yourself for Oblivion's embrace.
A time skip is presented to us in the form of the still images we've grown accustomed to, and they show us that despite us absolutely destroying the Protoss forces, Tassadar and Zeratul still manage to get out alive. Kerrigan stays behind to handle the leftovers, whilst doing what she can to find these two elusive Protoss warriors. In the background, however, the extended swarm jumps through space-time and heads towards Aiur. The Overmind is almost celebratory, as it notes that our being on Aiur means we can finally incorporate the Protoss into our gene pool.
Then shall we be the greatest of creation's children. We shall be perfect.
I love the way it says perfect. But, as always, there's something we need to do first. We have to get the Kadarin crystals.
For within them lies power undreamed of by the Protoss.
We hit the deck and do what we do best. Mine, build, evolve. You know the drill. Throwing our collective weight behind every attack on our enemies, we finally open up a path to the crystal structure. Even with High Templar attacking us with psionic storms, we hold our ground, and it's something we need to keep doing while our drone arrives. Dagoth advises us that the crystal is now being harvested, and a 10-minute timer projects itself. Holding the perimeter, the drone completes its task, and we need to get it back to the beacon. And when we do, Dagoth updates us.
Cerebrate, the Kadarin crystals are in our possession. Now, all shall tremble before the might of the swarm.
You're going to want to sit down for this.
You have done well, my Cerebrate. The Protoss can do nothing but flee before the onslaught of the swarm. But now you must assault one final site before our conquest is assured. Behold, there is a temple not far from here that lies upon ground most hallowed. Though I have borne witness to the passing of countless millennia, the temple which you must assault is older by far. For it was constructed by my creators, the Xel'Naga, and it marks the site where the Xel'Naga first set foot upon Aiur. The temple must be cleared, and the Kadarin crystal set in its place. Only then shall the way be made ready, for it is upon that ground alone that I may be manifest.
Its creators, the Xel'Naga. Again, if this is your first time going through the game, then you most likely ran off the feeling that the Zerg was some kind of evolutionary fluke, something that came about purely by chance. But this little revelation just flipped that entire belief on its head. I'm just going to go ahead and manage expectations here. The The Xel'Naga are mentioned a handful of times in the original game, but are much more of a thing in Starcraft 2. Basically, don't worry too much about it if you're having trouble keeping up. I'll be sure to go through everything when we eventually get there. Anyway, there's a temple where they first arrived, and the Kadaran crystal we just grabbed needs to be put in there, but only after we've made everything else dead. The Overmind is only able to grow on that particular spot on Aiur's surface, and with the intent of our arrival to absorb everything Protoss into our very being, it's a big deal. One final push, we evolve every upgrade, hatch every unit that fits our playstyle, and send the Protoss into oblivion. The ruins of Aiur make for some interesting battles from both sides, but as we reach our target, Dagoth reaches out to warn us that the enemy is throwing everything it has at us.
Cerebrit, the Protoss have launched a final offensive to keep us from the ruins. You must hold them at bay for a while longer.
They know what we're doing, and they're desperate. We just need to hold on a little longer. While we clean up the area, the drone brings the Kadaran crystal, and when it arrives, we're given the final piece of the puzzle from the Overmind.
Now shall the events set into motion so long ago be made complete. For the Protoss II were created by the Xel'Naga. They were the first creation, gifted with a purity of form, and we were the second creation, blessed with a purity of essence. Indeed, our two species are but opposite facets of a greater whole. Soon shall our two races be made as one. Thenceforth shall all feel the wrath of the eternal swarm, for the hour of judgment is come.
This mind-blowing revelation throws everything we believed right out of the window. The campaign ends with an orbital view of Aiur and something hurtling towards the surface. Zerg air units are seen patrolling. Aiur's cities set aflame. Zerglings run rampant through the streets, and what emerges from the planetary impact is the Overmind itself. The final campaign. And once again, it opens with still images, only this time it feels different. This is due in part to the Protoss soundtrack, which I personally think is, for lack of a better word, gorgeous. It accompanies our optics as we're reminded that the Overmind has been victorious in its invasion of Aiur. As the Zerg overwhelm and decimate everything in their path, the Protoss make their preparations and brace for the upcoming fight. A quick stylistic note here. The Terran Ready Room was what we would have expected, with cold and grimy walls, and the Zerg's one wasn't much better. But the Protoss Ready Room, unlike both of its counterparts, it's not enclosed. Almost like both the Terrans and the Zerg were hiding away, but the Protoss equivalent feels way more open, like they've got nothing to hide, but everything to prove. We're not a commander, and we're not a Cerebrit. This time, we're the Executor. We're greeted promptly by a fellow Protoss named Aldaris, who is a dick. If you've played the game before, I almost guarantee that got a chuckle, but if you're new to the franchise, this will make sense later on. But before we fully stretch our legs, a quick heads up. You're going to hear a lot of the phrase, En Taro. This is a term of respect that roughly translates to in honor of or in the name of. It's used as both a greeting but also used to note respect or admiration. The main one will be En Taro Adun. Adun was a young warrior from ages past, and if you want to know more about what he pulled off, then check out my Lore Before video for the Protoss, where I explain it there in more detail, but in the interest of pacing, we're just going to get started. Aldaris hits the ground running by telling us who he is, immediately followed by slagging Tassadar off, the Protoss Templar who gave Kerrigan the runaround in the last campaign.
En Taro Adun, Executor. I am Judicator Aldaris. I have been sent by the Conclave to serve and counsel you.
The Conclave is essentially a council of the wisest Protoss who wield ultimate authority over matters.
The former Executor, Tassadar, was commanded to halt the Zerg progress in the Terran sector by burning the infested human worlds. Unfortunately, he disregarded his orders and attempted to destroy the Zerg while sparing the Terrans from the flame. Clearly, Tassadar has failed us. You must not. The Conclave has dictated that our first priority is to strengthen our defenses. You must reinforce our outpost in Antioch and make certain that the province does not fall to the Zerg. Your old comrade, Praetor Phoenix, will meet you there and assist you in this endeavor.
So, first things first. We need to beef up the defenses at Antioch and meet up with somebody called Phoenix to get this done. The surface of Aiur returns, and we know this is going to be lively as we're given a squad of zealots and a couple of dragoons to get us started. The map shows an area of the Fog of War has already been carved out for us, so we know where we need to be. A few Zerglings try to slow us down, but as we've seen from previous perspectives, Protoss units are tanky, given that extra shielding that they have, so this little ambush doesn't really register. A bit further up, more Zerglings are coupled with Hydralisks in what feels like an attempt to mirror our own squad. We take a bit of a beating, but nothing to write home about. Time out a second. Where the Zerg can fully heal outside of a combat situation, the Protoss can recharge their shields in the same way, but not their actual health points. We can speed the recharge up with shield batteries later on, but this is worth quickly noting now. A short while later, we meet up with Phoenix, who is about as enthusiastic as they come.
Executor and Taro Adun, it is good to see you once more upon the field of battle.
He's grateful for our presence, but it's clear by the burning buildings that the fight started without us some time ago.
All of our probes were lost in the last Zerg attack, and we had no resources with which to replace them.
This is where our introduction to the Protoss construction mechanics kicks in. Probes are called in at the Nexus, which is the beating heart of the Protoss base. These things are the ones responsible for resource gathering and building, though they don't build exactly. What they actually do is warp in structures that have already been built. Once that warp has been started, the probe is free to continue on and start other tasks. It isn't tied to a build timer like an SCV or a drone. Not having probes meant that Phoenix was unable to gather the resources to facilitate these warps. And now we're here, that's about to change. The game gives us on-screen prompts about how the buildings can only be put inside the radius of a pylon. Pylons also act as the Protoss equivalent of supply depots, helping to expand our unit capacity to the maximum amount. I promise I'm not trying to teach you how to suck eggs, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page heading into this. Whilst we go about our business and try to build some semblance of an economy, Zerg ground units test the waters by attacking us from the front. Phoenix is a hero unit, and with that in mind, he's built differently, so any attempts to breach our perimeter fall short with him leading the pack. Gateways warp in our main ground units, from Zealots right up to High Templar. We head off to take on the invaders with a nice rounded off force of Zealots and Dragoons, which is beyond a shadow of a doubt the correct thing to do. And it's a good job we do it, because just when we thought this was going to be a walk in the park, we find out that they have Mutilisks. So no Dragoons means no answer to airborne threats. Once we delete the Zerg base, Phoenix speaks his mind.
Executor, although we too have marched across hundreds of worlds together, I never imagined that we would be fighting on Aiur. The Zerg are indeed worthy foes.
At no point did the mighty Protoss ever consider that they would be fighting on their own homeworld. And with that, back to the ready room. Aldaris welcomes us back and states that he's relieved that went off without a hitch, right before getting back to slagging off Tassadar again. And who should enter the conversation but Tassadar himself?
Entaro Adun, Executor. Your defense of Antioch has restored my faith in the Templar caste. I admit that Tassadar's desertion had shaken my faith.
Indeed, Aldaris. I would hope that the Judicator would put more faith in their Templar brethren.
Aldaris tries to demand answers, and Tassadar shoots him down.
Tassadar, where have you been?
Be silent, Judicator. There is no time to waste, and I have much to tell you.
He explains what's happened and the events that followed.
As you know, the Zerg vanished after the fall of the Terran world of Tarsonis, and though the Conclave bid me return home, I was compelled to remain. A powerful psionic call drew my attention to a remote barren world named Char. Apparently the call was answered by others as well. For upon Char, I encountered those who were once our brethren, the Dark Templar.
Aldaris is outraged, stating that teaming up with them goes against everything decreed by the Conclave, but Tassadar straight up just doesn't care.
Consorting with the Fallen Ones is heresy!
Enough! Hear me, Executor, for I have learned much from the Dark Templar prelate, Zeratul. The Overmind controls its minions through agents called cerebrates. Strike down the cerebrates, and the swarms will surely fall.
Phoenix sees the sense in this and steps in to support Tassadar.
Executor, Tassadar may be right. If you can keep the Zerg occupied, my force may be able to penetrate their perimeter and slay the abomination.
And whilst Aldaris allows this to happen, he casts doubts on Tassadar's loyalty, ordering him to come home immediately.
I pray we can trust you, Tassadar. Already I can sense the taint of the Fallen One's influence on your mind. You must return to Aiur at once.
Tassadar cements his lifelong fan appreciation here by diplomatically but unmistakably defying Aldaris.
My concern is for the safety of Aiur, not the judgments of the Conclave. I will return when the time is right.
On the ground again, the timer we've come to love and loathe makes its appearance, reminding us that Phoenix is making his way to a better strike position. Whilst we mine and get ourselves together, the Zerg try their luck from multiple angles, so it's probably an idea to get some defenses set up. Enter the photon cannon. Using the same energy projectile launched from a Dragoon, the photon cannon is able to attack both ground and air units, which is a notable and welcome change from the Zerg that needed sunken and spore colonies to field a substantial resistance. To add to the wonderful creation of this thing, it's a detector too, so anything trying to hide in the ground or get past cloaked is going to have a really bad time. With Phoenix en route and the timer still going, we don't actually need to leave our base yet. We can have a look around by all means, but that time is better spent getting our house in order for the fight to come. As we do so, a variety of Zerg units come looking for a fight, and our newly placed photon cannons are more than happy to accommodate. If you do want to push out to find more resources, be mindful of borrowed Zerg. They'll see you before you see them. Taking your eye off the ball can cause some issues. Once the timer hits 0, Phoenix pipes up to let us know that he's in position and he's ready to play his part in protecting Aiur.
Executor, we are in position. I await your orders.
And he's far from alone. He's supported by Dragoons, Zealots, and most importantly, Reavers. Crawling siege engines that really pack a punch. With opposite sides of the map occupied by our forces, more Zerg units try to come for us, which proves useless. We gather resources and warp in our army until we're happy that whatever is in the fog doesn't stand a chance. Dragoons are the unit of choice here, a very capable all-rounder that gets the job done. Provided you can get it to go where you want it to. Zerg defenses do what they can to keep us away, but it's not nearly enough. Following through, we finally see a Cerebrate up close, and we unleash on it. Once the Cerebrate is defeated, Phoenix says that he's going to hang about for a bit, see if the body really does fall now that the figurative head has been removed.
I will remain behind and observe the effects of our attack. Return to the Citadel. I shall notify you when the brood becomes erratic.
2 hours after the events of the mission, we're back in the ready room and Phoenix tells us that it's not looking good.
Executor, I bring news most dire. The Cerebrate that we thought we had killed has arisen again. The creature's battered form was reincarnated despite the considerable damage we inflicted upon it. Even now, the Cerebrate drives its brood in preparation for their next offensive.
Aldaris wastes no time in throwing shade on Tassadar's name, stating that he can't be trusted and that the Protoss are above attacking helpless and immobile creatures.
It is as I feared. It was folly to believe Tassadar could be trusted. The Conclave will not soon forget his wanton betrayal. Nevertheless, we must stand resolute, for attacking defenseless cerebrates is not the way of true Protoss warriors. We shall overcome the entire swarm with the might and the fury that is our heritage. Executor, we shall lead our main strike force to the province of Sion, which has fallen to the Zerg. It's time the Zerg felt the wrath of the Sons of Aiur. Praetor Phoenix will remain here with a small detachment and guard Antioch from any further assaults.
We've got to head over to Sion and handle the Zerg there. Phoenix will remain at Antioch to make sure it stays secure. And with him being one of the more grounded Protoss we've met, Phoenix wishes us good fortune for what we do next.
Adun be with you, Executor. Bring swift death to the enemies of Aiur.
So off we go. And would you look at that? Scouts are present straight from the get-go. Fantastic for air superiority, but not so much for a ground-based assault. This should light up some warnings in our minds that we're ideally going to need to field a varied force for this mission. Whilst we get ourselves sorted, there's a few interruptions from wayward Zerg, but with the starting units alone, we can handle them just fine. Notice also how we're going up against different coloured Zerg, a little nod to the fact that we're facing multiple broods instead of one large force. We upgrade what we can, and then we drop the hammer with Dragoons because nothing else will really cut it here. After what feels like an eternity of firing off on them, Phoenix advises that the volume of invaders is far more than they first thought.
Executor, Antioch is under attack by overwhelming Zerg forces.
Aldaris responds by letting him know that he's got to do what he can, but he says it in a way that makes you think he already knows it's a loss.
Praetor, you must hold your position for as long as possible. Fight on, brave Phoenix, and know that the gods watch over you. Entaro Adun.
Shortly after, we're treated to a cinematic that I think made a lot of people gasp the first time they saw it. Anyway, slideshow time. We're updated by being told that while Sion was successful in destroying the Hive cluster, our man Phoenix didn't survive. The Conclave, in its infinite wisdom, wholly believes that their forces are actually winning this war and opt to start getting personal again. Aldaris is told that he needs to locate and detain Tassadar to try him for, get this, treason. With a handful of units for protection, Aldaris and ourselves have popped over to Char in an attempt to find the Templar. Aldaris opens by paying a modicum of respect to Phoenix, stating that he died with his honor intact.
Executor, I know that you were reluctant to leave Aiur in this dark hour, and that you still grieve for the loss of your comrade, Phoenix. But remember that he lived and died as a Templar. He has reached the Kala's end. There is no greater glory than that.
And just when you think he's turned a page and is actually a pretty stand-up member of society, he 180s and tells us that Tassadar is the real threat, not the Zerg.
We Judicator are called to look beyond such matters, to ensure the safety and future of our people. It is not the Zerg, but the rogue Tassadar, who represents the greatest threat to us now. If he is allowed to spread the Dark Templar's tainted influence to Aiur, all will be lost. We will find him and bring him to judgment.
See? Dick. Aldaris notes, however, that there is still a Zerg presence despite what Tassadar communicated, and warns us that things could get lively on our hunt for him.
Tassadar claimed that this world was abandoned by the Zerg just prior to the invasion of Aiur. Yet I still sense a lingering darkness here. Be prepared for anything, Executor. If there are still Zerg on this world, then they must surely know of our arrival.
We hit the orbital platforms hovering over Char, and we have a new addition to our ranks, a High Templar. Fighting our way up the map, we finally arrive at Tassadar's base, and yes, I know you can see it, give me a second.
Aldaris, Executor, how is it that you've come here? I was about to abandon all hope of rescue.
I have come to arrest you and bring you home to Aiur to stand trial.
Arrest me? Aiur burns at the touch of the Zerg. You travel all this way to arrest me?
That's when Rayner cuts in, trying to alleviate the tension somewhat by saying, "This looks a little too familiar."
Don't let it get to you, man. This happened to me once.
Aldaris is just blown away with this. First Tassadar consorts with the Dark Templar, and now a human?
Who is this human, Tassadar?
The name's Jim Rayner, pal, and I won't be talked down to by anybody. Not even a Protoss.
Amusing. Tassadar, your taste in companions grows ever more inexplicable. Executor, prepare to take Tassadar into
Executor,
custody.
wait. I do not know what they have told you about me. But what I have done for Aiur. Help me find Zeratul and his Dark Templar. They alone can defeat the Overmind Cerebrits. Once we have won, I shall gladly submit myself to the judgment of the Conclave.
Unthinkable. You presume that we would side with the Dark Ones as you have? You have gone quite mad, Tassadar.
You shall speak of them with respect, Aldaris. Executor, there is much that I can explain to you. If only you'll help me find Zeratul.
Once the argument comes to an end, we suddenly hear all manner of Zerg noises coming from every direction, with a High Templar calling it in.
Surrounded.
But despite that, we have an answer of our own. The Archon. Two High Templars can merge, becoming a single overwhelming manifestation of power. And it's a good job too, because we're going to need it. If you want a bit more of an insight into how the Archons work, then check out my Protoss Units Explained video. I'll leave a link below. We don't need to go exploring here. We've got to get Tassadar back to the beacon, and that was at the starting point of this mission, so we already know where we're going. We just need to handle the Zerg on the way back. When we do eventually get back, Tassadar says thank you, and that we need to get moving.
You have my thanks, Executor. Now let us find Zeratul and speed our way home.
1 hour later, and we're back in the ready room. Aldaris fires off by telling us that we're in big trouble and to reconsider our motives.
Executor, by following Tassadar and attempting to rescue the Dark Templar, you have openly defied the will of the Conclave. Abandon this mad scheme now, and the Conclave may show you mercy.
But Tassadar calls him out for it, stating that for too long the Conclave has moved in pursuit of its own selfish ambitions and not in the best interest of the Protoss people. This conversation is important.
Don't let him control you, Executor. The Judicator have long since steered the actions of the Templar to their own ends. It's time we acted of our own accord.
Ah, Tassadar, have you fallen so far? To think that you were our brightest hope, our most beloved son. Now you are everything that we are not. You are lost to us. Not only have you damned yourself, but you have damned those who have followed you.
Such is the price for our race's salvation, Judicator. I have been here with the Dark Templar these last few months. While I helped them in their fight against the Zerg, I learned many of their secrets from the prelate, Zeratul. Apparently, the energies which empower the Dark Templar also course through the Overmind and its Cerebrits.
The same Cerebrits which you told us to destroy. Your advice was useless, for the creature was reincarnated before our eyes.
Unfortunately, yes. Your attack on the Cerebrit failed because the energies that you wield are useless when used directly against the Overmind and its Cerebrits. Only the Dark Templar's power can truly harm the Zerg. That is why we must rescue Zeratul and return him to Aiur.
You were warned, Executor. The Conclave will not be pleased.
This is a large map, and we've got to get Tassadar plus 2 zealots over to the entrance of an installation. We could spend our time mining, building, upgrading, blah blah blah. Or, remember that little workaround I told you with the SCV and the defensive matrix? We're gonna do something similar here. Get Tassadar to make illusions of the shuttle. load him and the zealots into the real one and send everyone together. Whilst it's easily identifiable which one is the real one to us, the Zerg can't tell the difference. It's a close call for sure, but we do make it. Completing this mission brings a lovely cinematic that results in some Terran forces getting comfortable, and then vaporized. Tassadar hits the ground running and tells us that he can sense Zeratul and his people, but he can't make contact.
Executor, I sense that Zeratul and his brethren are close by, but I have been unable to make contact with them. I fear they may be in grave danger. We must scour this area immediately and find the Dark Templar, lest they be overcome by the Zerg.
And without any further conversation, we find ourselves in the installation. It's easy to miss up to this point, but Tassadar as a High Templar has an actual attack that isn't a special one. Just be aware that this is only because he's a hero unit. High Templar that you construct don't have this. Judging by the amount of marine bodies scattered about, we can safely assume that there's been a right punch up here, so being mindful of our surroundings is important. But as we go through the gate, we find a band of marines stranded. They are not interested in fighting us. They're fully aware of what the Protoss think of the Zerg, evident by the fact that they kept glassing planets to get rid of them. So in a enemy of my enemy is my friend moment, one of them asks if they can team up. An unexpected but fun addition to this mission for sure. Now, remember, Tassadar is a High Templar, a unit that can make illusions. It's not a terrible idea to make these illusions and use them to scout ahead. You'll never know what you might find, like an infested Terran for example, that when it explodes would wipe out our squad in an instant, but losing illusions is a much better outcome. As we go deeper, we find more Marines doing what they can to hold the line against the outbreak. We find a pad and unlock some doors and head to where the camera briefly aimed us, and as we get closer we find yet more Terran forces happy to team up with us, but as we turn the corner we get rushed by a considerable force. Opening the final cell doors means we have to fight yet more security systems, but it is worth it, for as we reach the last one, we finally find the Dark Templar.
Greetings, Dark One. I have come to bring you home.
Greetings to you, mighty Tassadar. I knew that you would not forsake us. For in the time that you have spent with us, you have learned to value our ways and our methods. You have learned to channel our dark power, as well as that of your masters. And thus you alone have found completeness beyond the scope of the Kala. But I fear that the Conclave in its pride could never bring itself to welcome outcasts such as we.
Outcasts though you may be, it is your vision and courage that may yet save our homeworld from the swarm. I beg of you, Zeratul, return with us to Aiur. Though they are petty and have in ignorance cursed your kind for generations, help me save our people.
Since our banishment long ago, we have never failed in our responsibility to Aiur. Though it shall cause us great pain to see our homeland once more, we shall return with you, Tassadar. We will do what we can.
This isn't even a "you're our only hope" approach. This is a plea from somebody who genuinely wants to save his people and his homeworld. This is desperation brought about by love. The ready room kicks off with an unexpected entrance from an old friend.
Greetings, Executor, and greetings to you, Tassadar.
It's Phoenix. He welcomes us back and begins to bring us up to speed on what's happened in our absence, but Tassadar cuts him off.
I am overjoyed to see you both return home in this dark hour. The Zerg have redoubled their efforts, and it seems that I have...
It can't be. The Executor told me of how you fell before the Zerg. How is it that you live and breathe?
Well, after my unfortunate defeat, my ruined body was recovered by our brethren. I now reside within the cold robotic shell of a Dragoon.
Old friend, would that this never came to pass.
Nonsense! There is no shame in defeat, so long as the spirit is unconquered, and I am still able to serve Aiur to a degree. But enough of this.
First timers to the franchise might be getting dizzy at what they've just heard, but if you need a bit more context to what Phoenix just said, check out my video on the Protoss units explained. That'll help explain what the Dragoons are really about. Phoenix goes on to tell us that it's about to kick off with the Conclave, but whether they like it or not, he stands with us.
There is much you both need to know. You have been branded as traitors by Aldaris and the Conclave. Even now they seek to arrest you and execute the Dark Templar of Zeratul.
I never believed that they would go so far. In the face of total annihilation, they still cling to their failing traditions.
Yes, and that makes them all the more dangerous. They hunt you even now, Tassadar. And though I damn myself by doing so, I shall stand by you till the end.
En Taro Adun, noble Phoenix. Executor, it seems that if our world is to live, we must protect the Dark Templar from our own brethren. Although it pains me greatly, not even the Conclave shall stand in our way.
Immediately, the mission enters a conversation, with Aldaris explaining what's about to happen.
Executor, you and the traitor Tassadar are to cease your resistance and surrender yourselves to the judgment of the Conclave. We will take the outlaw Zeratul into custody and deal with him as is written by the Kala's law.
He's here to arrest Zeratul, and we ourselves are ordered to stand down.
Flee back to your masters, Aldaris, and huddle with them in darkness. For your actions shall set us all unto the Zerg.
Tassadar tells Aldaris to shove it, stating that his blindness to what is actually happening will be the true reason Aiur falls. There are a few ways we can do this mission. We can retreat back to the encampment in the top of the map, or we can sprint south with the Dark Templar and destroy the enemy nexus to win. Either way, once that nexus falls, Tassadar tries one more time to get Aldaris to see sense in this desperate situation.
Executor, Aldaris, this madness must stop. The sight of my brethren slaughtering one another is more than I can stand. Though I fear you would doom us all, Aldaris, I surrender myself to the Conclave. En Taro Adun, Executor, don't give up the fight.
With his submission to the Conclave, Protoss carriers warp in to take him away. Aldaris responds by laying down this supposed law.
Tassadar of the Templar, by your actions you have severed yourself from the mercy of your brethren. You refuse to destroy the Terran worlds as was commanded. You have questioned time and time again the sacred will of the Conclave, and you have abandoned your homeworld in its darkest hour. Most grievous of all is that you have allied yourself with the blasphemous Dark Ones, and learned to utilize their profane powers in tandem with our own. What say you, O fallen Templar?
Refused to destroy Terran worlds. Questioned stupid orders. Left Aiur to find the answer to a universe-ending threat, then had to fight his own war council to prove a point. See, that comment I made about Aldaris being a dick makes sense now. Tassadar responds by making it clear he'd do it again if it meant saving his homeworld.
Aldaris, I submit myself to the Conclave's judgment. But know this, given the same choices again, I would surely have made them. I have sacrificed all that our world might live. I have sullied my honor. I have discarded my rank and standing. I have even broken our most ancient traditions. But never think that I would for one moment regret my actions. For I am Templar, and above all else, I have sworn to protect our homeworld till the end.
Now for one of the more here we go cinematics. We're shown the orbital view of Aiur and something cloaked is moving. As an Arbiter pulls ahead, Protoss carriers are seen coming into view along with, is that a battle cruiser? This can only mean one thing. The next slideshow depicts Tassadar in custody and sentenced to stand trial for his actions. Phoenix, Rayner, and Tassadar's loyal followers are shown having a meeting. Turns out that they managed to get away from the authorities and Zeratul's group disappeared without a trace. Phoenix opens up, telling us that while the situation seems hopeless, we've got to keep going.
Entaro Adun, Executor. All seems lost now, but still we must fight on. We must find Tassadar and secure his release from the Judicator before they can execute him for treason. Without him, I fear there is no way to defeat the Zerg and their overmind.
A bit of doubt creeps in over the insistence of the Dark Templar being the answer in all of this, but before he can dwell on it, Rayner chimes in.
Zeratul and his Dark Templar have vanished, leaving us to fend for ourselves. I wonder if Tassadar was mistaken to have put his trust in them. We are receiving a transmission from Captain Rayner's command ship.
This is Rayner. I'd like to help if I can. Tassadar laid it on the line for me and my crew on Char. I'd like to repay the debt. Besides, I'm a long way from home, surrounded by hostile aliens. I've got to do something.
Rayner notes his position much to the agreement of Phoenix, who seems impressed that a human would go so far for a Protoss.
Then you shall, bold human. You shall.
Here we go. Time to take stock of what we're looking at. A carrier armed with individual interceptors that are an absolute menace against anything they come up against. Rayner is in the battlecruiser, and we already know what these things are capable of. Phoenix is present in his Dragoon form. More minerals than we know what to do with and a handful of ground units to get us started. Early in the mission, enemy scouts try to handle us, but with Rayner poised and ready, no chance. We take some time to build our economy, additional structures and upgrades, all while enemy ground units take liberties. Then, unexpectedly, the enemy starts taking us seriously, arriving with scouts and carriers of their own. More enemy arrive in the form of Reavers, who try and wipe out our probes, causing finance building to slow down if we don't jump on it quickly. Right on the south entrance to our encampment, the enemy Protoss forces have set up shop, so our first full battle is to wipe them out. Wiping out that base opens up additional resources for us, which is super handy. And as we travel around the map, we find more enemy Protoss camps, so we do what we need to. Another base down, another set of resources unlocked. Aldaris clearly doesn't know who he's messed with. And because we're petty over our legend being arrested, Archons, because why not? Arbiters prove to be a pain here. Their stasis ability locks down chunks of our units at a time, so having backup units is always a good thing. The third and final enemy base has much more substance to it, so we keep throwing numbers at it until it finally falls. Once we break the stasis cell open, Aldaris comments that this was something he'd accounted for all along, and to kiss our asses goodbye.
Expected you to attempt to retrieve your hero. You will learn that the will of the Conclave is absolute. Make peace with Adun.
And just when we think it's all over, Zeratul pulls up with his squad and threatens Aldaris in response.
Stay thy hand, Judicator. The stewards of Tassadar shall not fall while the Dark Templar live. Call off your guards and stand aside, and you may yet live to see another moonrise.
Aldaris remains resolute in his ignorance, stating that he doesn't have to listen to anything a Dark Templar has to say. Zeratul has had enough, and decides to explain something that Aldaris has failed to grasp.
I will not be addressed so by one so devoid of the Kala's light. You and your vile brethren shall die with these traitors.
Are you truly so blinded by your vaunted religion that you cannot see the fall ahead of you? Your conclave believes that they are winning this war, but all they have succeeded in doing is helping the Overmind to win.
What could you possibly know about our designs, blasphemer?
You speak of knowledge, Judicator. You speak of experience. I have journeyed through the darkness between the most distant stars. I have beheld the births of negative sounds and borne witness to the entropy of entire realities. Unto my experience, Alderus, all that you have built here on Aiur is but a fleeting dream. A dream from which your precious conclave shall awaken, finding themselves drowned in a greater nightmare.
We shall see.
In what is arguably one of the most OP ready rooms, Tassadar addresses us, Zeratul, and Phoenix, and expresses his thanks for getting him out of that cell. He's done tiptoeing around and suggests that we unleash the full power of the Dark Templar.
In Taro Adun, Executor. My gratitude to you for having secured my release knows no bounds. By all the gods, we may win yet. The time has come to let loose the fury of the Dark Templar. Zeratul, perhaps the time has come to tell our friends of the foe we face.
Zeratul agrees and says his part. And this is interesting. Previously in the Zerg Campaign, we get exposition from the Overmind about how when Zaz got killed, the Overmind and Zeratul's minds touched momentarily, revealing the location of Aiur itself.
For when the assassin Zeratul murdered Zaz, his mind touched with mine, and all his secrets were made known to me. I have taken from his mind the secret location of Aiur, the Protoss homeworld.
This conversation gives us the other side of that mind meld.
Indeed. When I slew the Cerebrit on Char, I touched briefly with the essence of the Overmind. In that instant, my mind was filled with its thoughts. And I tell you now, our worst fears have come true. The Zerg were indeed created by the ancient Zelnaga, the same beings that empowered us in our infancy. But the Overmind grew beyond their constraints, and has at last come to finish the experiments they began so long ago.
Tassadar follows up by explaining that it's not just the Protoss that are in danger, it's all sentient life.
So you see, my friends, we fight not only to save Aiur, but all creation. If we fall to the Zerg, then the Overmind will run rampant throughout the stars, consuming all sentience, all life. It is up to us to put an end to this madness, once and for all.
Phoenix, who's always ready for a punch-up, explains the plan.
Our forces shall engage the primary Zerg hive clusters in an attempt to weaken their defenses. Once their numbers have thinned out, Zeratul and his companions can infiltrate the clusters and assassinate the Cerebrits. Adun willing, the Cerebrits' deaths will distract the Overmind long enough for us to assault it directly.
On the ground, for what feels like a mission for the ages, we're without a ready-made base to call our own, so the first port of call is to set up shop and start getting things ready. Directly ahead of the starting point, however, is a scattered Zerg force, with no detectors. This means Zeratul is free to cut loose and start thinning out the herd, which makes things a bit easier later on. Once we get the ball rolling with our base, more Zerg units make their presence known and we need to be on top of it. Expansion is key this time round too. We're going to need a lot of resources for what we're about to do. The Zerg continue to come for us with the full catalogue of their army, from Zerglings and Mutilisks to Ultralisks and Defilers. At long last we reach where the Cerebrits are, and we need to make sure that Zeratul is the one who does the killing here. But when the final Cerebrit dies, we move on to the last mission. Finally, a plan worked. Tassadar notes the importance of what's to come, and surprisingly, his feelings about it.
Indeed. My friends, this is our final hour. Not all of us may survive the coming conflict. Yet, death may be a blessing should we fail here. We seek now to destroy a foe that has ravaged its way across the universe, consuming all in its path. And now, it has reached the end of its long journey. The Overmind has come to destroy all that we hold dear and assimilate us into itself. And I say to thee, this shall not come to pass. Aiur shall not fall. Executor, I stand ready.
And would you believe it, Reyna wants to join the party too.
Well, I guess all I have left is to see this through. The Zerg have taken everything from me. My home, my family, my friends. I know that nothing I do can bring those things back, but I'll be damned if I just sit on my hands and wait for the end. I want a piece of them, all right. I'm in.
He's been there from the start, seen the devastation, felt the loss. Now, it's time to aim that anger where it belongs. Tassadar approves of his intention and gives one last rallying speech to his peers.
Then let our actions speak for us. For Adun. For Aiur.
In a moment that comes as quite the surprise, Aldaris is the first to speak.
Executor, Tassadar, this comes too late to you, but the Conclave has witnessed your defeat of the Cerebrate. They know now that they cannot deny the necessity or the valiancy of your actions. We sought to punish you, while it was we who were in error. You represent what is greatest in us all, and all our hopes go with you. Entaro Adun, brave sons of Aiur.
Bit late for a redemption arc, but I guess it's the sentiment that matters. Even Rayna tries to make light of the situation.
Wow. Does that mean they're going to send some backup for us?
In what can be considered as a full-on hell yeah moment, we're given access to Terran forces thanks to Rayna. It started with them, and they will play a big part in bringing this to an end. With our forces in the bottom right corner of the map, and Rayna's crew in the top left, we can confidently assume that the Overmind is somewhere in the middle. Zeratul has squadded up with his people, and Tassadar this time takes control of his flagship carrier, the Gandrathor, to provide support from the sky. Rayna II is back in his battlecruiser. All of these individual components serve as a fantastic piece of storytelling. This is the battle to decide the fate of all creation, and we're leaving nothing to chance. Then, one of, if not the most iconic moments of the original series plays out. Tassadar sees it. He also knows it's not enough. Not yet. But he has an idea, and it's one that brought every player's jaw to the floor the first time they witnessed it.
Warriors have engaged the enemy.
The Overmind has been weakened, but I fear we have sustained severe damage ourselves. I will steer the Gandrathor into a collision course with the Overmind. If I can channel enough of the Dark Templar's energy through the hull of the Gandrathor, I should be able to bring swift death to the accursed abomination. Remember us, Executor. Remember what was done here today. May Adun watch over you.
The final chapter of the final campaign ends with a cutscene that still resonates with players across the world today. Nothing I could say about this would come close to doing it justice, so I'll just let you watch it instead. That's not the very end, however. A few final images show Zeratul, Reyna, and Phoenix looking out at the battlefield, somber in the aftermath of what just happened. Despite being hunted by his own conclave, ridiculed and disowned due to his longing to save his home, Tassadar made the ultimate sacrifice, one that will carve the memory of his name across the stars for generations to come. The Overmind is dead, and Aiur is in ruins. The ones who survived it all ponder on what the future holds. But they're not the only ones. Back on Shar, Kerrigan still lives, and for the first time, there is no Overmind whispering commands, no higher will guiding her actions, only silence. And in that silence, she understands exactly what she is now and what she will become.